For April 20th, 2022, breaking news from Santa Monica, California. Are you ready for it? It's Evenings LALATE.
From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big night with shocking developing details across the board that you need to know with your first stimulus check update of 2022. Checks have gone out, and have you got to them in tonight's recording? For this big night, we have a 1 hour special broadcast as major checks have landed in America's hands for viewers who got the initiative to pounce and get the checks. Big checks, and in this recording, we're going to go over how to get these checks that Joe Biden has now made law. We'll go over all these incredible checks from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Major developing news across the board. But it's a big night. A lot of other breaking news as well that impacts your wallet. The Build Back Better Act likely to get done this month as the White House has now signaled a change of policy on where its focus is going into this big month. Then we'll be looking at the situation unfolding about the Federal Reserve and why the new home starts for the month of March slid even worse. We have the latest economic data on that front and what this means for your money. It's brand new. As existing homes in the month of March fell dramatically, what happened? All the latest details tonight. Then, out of nowhere, we learned tonight that one state will be sending potentially a stimulus check out. This is as a state now says it has leftover money from the third stimulus package. Wow, we'll have incredible news about that in tonight's recording. Plus, we'll be looking at why the state of New York thinks that inflation could get worse because of the subvariant of Omicron now in their state. When we turn to the situation for oil tonight, breaking news as one major organization now signals to us that they shut down the expansion of oil in the month of March. In fact, they limited even more. You're going to be shocked on the developing details of what we learned about OPEC in the month of March today and what it means for your money thereafter. What about the price of bread and wheat? It's likely to go up another 40% in the next few days, and this is as it's already at an all-time high. Meantime, student loan debt forgiveness, major developing details tonight as we now know about new debt has been forgiven. Over the next 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over a lot of details. New checks have landed. Stay with me. We're going to go over those new checks, stimulus checks that the President of the United States has sent out. We'll go over that new student loan debt that has been forgiven in the last 24 hours. We'll go over the breaking economic data that has happened in the last few minutes tonight. And then what is this economy doing as we now learn that OPEC actually did not help us in the month of March? Oh, boy, it's a big night with a lot of breaking news, but the good news is that I'm here, you're here. And over the next 1 hour broadcast, you're going to see the most comprehensive coverage of financial news in America because this is the number one show for financial news in the Evenings LALATE. Starts right now. And good evening, everybody. For April 20th, 2022, it's the major breaking economic news that you need to know and the financial news that impacts your wallet. It's America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. It's Evenings LALATE. And over the next 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over the breaking news as new stimulus checks have landed, direct deposited in people's bank accounts. We'll go over how to get these huge checks. Then we'll be turning to the other changing, developing details that could give more checks thereafter. We have a lot to go over in tonight's recording as major economic news was released today, signaling that the economy is stalling up, not potentially on full engines just at the moment. What does this mean for your money? We'll look at that situation as well. Plus, great news is no student loan debts have been forgiven. We'll look at what that Federal Reserve is doing with those interest rates, what's going on with that mortgage rates, and why those mortgages are likely sending the U.S. economy into recession. Over the next 1 hour broadcast, get your pen and paper ready because we have huge checks in tonight's recording, but the best way for you not to miss a check is actually to get that membership newsletter. No need to worry about taking notes because it's all detailed in the membership newsletter. Become a member. The membership link is at the top of the chat and in the pinned comment. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP so you get the most comprehensive financial newsletter in America, delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Tonight, there's a lot going on, and over the next 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over all these incredible items that are happening that you need to know. I'm going to start with what's going on first tonight for April 20th, 2022, with the Build Back Better Act. It is a bill, the forced stimulus recon, currently sitting in the U.S. Senate, and we note tonight that the White House has now fast-tracked it. The White House tonight is signaling that it needs to refocus on its domestic agenda because of the midterm elections. Americans in a new series of new polls say that they're a little bit tired of hearing about Ukraine and they want to hear more attention on themselves. So the White House is trying to really fast track a lot of provisions, either by executive action or by getting it done. And the White House is now signaling that it's likely to get the Build Back Better Act done in the next 30 days, as the White House is now signaling and telling the American people what is still in third stimulus and what is also in infrastructure that can get you money. Now, what's important to understand is that Build Back Better Act has new support tonight, and the new support, ironically, is a stalling up economy. The stalling up economy is evidence in new economic data across the board, in which many analysts now potentially call this not a recession, but a war session. Normally in a recession, you do not have price of goods going up like an inflationary environment. We're likely to have that and still stay in recession. Says a new report by David Roach, who is an independent strategist president looking at the situation across the board. Here's what you need to know is that the Build Back Better Act tonight has a series of economic data that fell, that missed benchmarks. And those data include the GDP, the gross national product of the U.S. economy, fell 6.9%, less than the 7.1% predicted. Then the non-farm payroll jobs miss, less than 30,000 less than projected. Then when we look at the housing data, day after day, more bad data from the housing market. And minutes ago, we had more data from the housing market. Sales of existing homes for the month of March fell 2.7%. We learned late today in a new report obtained by LA News from the National Association of Realtors. This is seasonally adjusted. And this showed that when looking back to the month of February 2022, they had to readjust that number down even more. March sales were lower, 5.5%, than the same period last year. This means that Americans who went to go buy a house in the month of March didn't buy it like they bought it last year. Why? Mortgage rates are surging out of control, and let's understand that the numbers we're seeing today for the March housing sales did not have the full extent of the mortgage rates hitting. Let's recap. The current 30-year mortgage rate tonight is 5.3%, and that is just recently because it was 3.29% at the beginning of January, 3.9% by the end of February. And what do you need to know tonight is that the impact of a surging out of control mortgage rate tonight really didn't hit the housing industry when this bad data manifested itself. So that means that the housing industry could get a lot worse than where we are tonight. Across the board, the impact on your wallet is being felt by all parts of the U.S. economy. Low income, middle class, and also rich people. The data came in from the housing sales today and indicated that across the board. Houses less than 100,000 were down 21% compared to year to the date. So these are low income housing. Then for homes that are priced in the middle class range, they were down 30% year to date. And then houses that are over 1 million for wealthy people were still down 25%. So the impact of this economy is being felt by all classes of economic levels in the U.S. economy. The situation is not far from over because guess what? The governor of New York today says the impact on the U.S. economy, especially in the state of New York, will be inflationary pressures if these subvariants of Omicron continue to grow. Tonight, the governor of New York is saying that it will keep in place its mass mandate for public transport for at least for now because the mutations of the subvariant of Omicron are causing new surges or what's quoted as a rising tide of new infections in New York, says his governor. And that rising surge could also cause inflation. Let's understand how inflation kicks in. Can't get the product to you, then the product goes up in price. For example, you don't have the truck driver because they're out with COVID. Then you can't truck the product into you. Less products are shipped, and then there's less products. The price goes up. That is what New York is projecting. That expect for more inflation in New York if the subvariants in New York continue to surge across the board. This is as the CPI number released last week was the worst we've seen in a while. It's out of control. 8.5% growth of the U.S. economy for that growth of that inflationary number in the U.S. economy year to date. But when you look at the February to March numbers, out of control. From the month of February 2022, the month of March, what did we see there? We saw in the month of February to March that the overall number got hotter, meaning we're still not at 8%. We're likely at 8.25%, even worse. Now, this is important for you and your money because guess what? There's Joe Biden, who promised to swap your benefits benchmark of COLA to inflation that would lock in you more per month if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and railroad benefits and veterans benefits. This is SS300. Swapping COLA to inflation is important when we know what the inflation rate is. Tonight, it's likely higher than 8%. I predicted it was going to be 8% last year. I was the only one who predicted that. Everyone said 2 to 3% and temporary. I said, no, it's going to be 8% prolonged. It was 8% in December, 8% in January, 8% in February, and what did it come in the month of March? It was up 0.3% higher. Wall Street is looking at 0.5%. So it came in higher. Now, that's the overall number. How bad was the inflation for items you buy? Out of control. When we look at the energy prices, like the price of gasoline in the month of March from February, it went up 11%, folks. That's out of control inflation in just 1 month. That was what we learned last week, but we did not just stop at gasoline surging out of control. What were the other numbers that really hit it badly? We had fresh fruits and vegetables, beef, and rice were up more than 2% compared to February. That's in 30 days. A 2% increase in 30 days is a lot, folks. And for most food goods across the board, it was at least 1% in just 1 month. That is an out of control number. So this is actually good news for Build Back Better Act because guess what? The senators are looking for ammunition to say, hey, we got to get this done because the U.S. economy is stalling up. And tonight, the U.S. economy is stalling up. Where's the data tonight? With the exception of unemployment, which is a very important benchmark, the U.S. economy is stalling up. The gross national product is shrinking. 7.1% growth for the U.S. economy, then to 6.9% right now, missing benchmarks. Shrinking to 4%, says analysts across the board. But remember, if it gets to 0, we're in recession. If it gets to a negative number, we're in recession. And so that GDP is shrinking. That's reason to pass a major social reform for American citizens. Then, the next part of the equation is less jobs being created. Then we have the housing starts missing on that benchmark. Then we have the mortgage industry out of control. You already heard that data. 5% mortgage rate. No one can afford this. And that is why housing starts are down. Autos down. Food sales are likely to dwindle as well. And these numbers continue to miss. And so this is good news for the Build Back Better Act. Now, what is also getting very, very interesting was that the Federal Reserve is doing what the Federal Reserve is not doing. The Federal Reserve impacts your SS300 because remember, Jay Powell, his job as head of the Federal Reserve is to reduce inflation. How does he reduce inflation? He reduces inflation by raising interest rates. But if he does it wrong, we're in trouble. Let me go over why he's likely to do it wrong. Number one, he's looking at FOMC meetings the Federal Reserve over the next few weeks, and he's looking at doing a half basis point increase every meeting in these consecutive meetings for at least 2 times. That, I think, in my opinion, is too strong, and even longer is even more too strong. Why? Because when you hit with inflation, a rising interest rate, and it doesn't work, then what happens? You got higher interest rates, and you still have inflation. Let me say that again. If you hit inflation with raising interest rates at the Federal Reserve, and it doesn't work, what do you have then? Then you got 2 problems. You got inflation, and you also have now higher interest rates. Is that going to happen? It will happen. In my opinion, that's going to happen. Why? Because the Federal Reserve has it wrong. Has it really wrong. Federal Reserve had it wrong all last year. Predicted this inflation rate was going to be lower and temporary. Got it very, very wrong. What is the Federal Reserve doing tonight? Saying that it can solve inflation by raising interest rates. It can't. What's the breaking news tonight, folks? The breaking news tonight is not you, not me, but something that impacts you and me. And what is that something? The exemplar of what impacts us is called Shanghai. Shanghai is a city that is so big, it has a population somewhere between the state of New York and the state of Texas and the state of Florida. It's that big a town. And how big is that town of Shanghai? Tonight, it is on lockdown. Why? Because of a subvariant of Omicron. What does this have to do with me, LA? It has everything to do with you. Because your goods are made over there and shipped back to the United States. Your products that are made there and imported by us, we buy. And they come from there. And guess what? They can't ship us products. So suddenly we have supply chain disruption. You can't get the sofa from Shanghai. Did you not know that sofa in the living room we're sitting on right now, maybe in Shanghai? You can't get the sofa. So then what happens? There's less sofas. The sofa goes up in price. Ouch. It's not as comfortable to sit on anymore. Suddenly, supply chain disruption is not good for your tush. Yeah, that's sort of what kicks in. It kicks you in the butt. So there you go. That is an example of what supply chain disruption is. And that's just the first of three of them. The second one was coming out of COVID in the United States. We came out of COVID and we did not have shippers and truckers and all that type of stuff. That's why when you're on the highway, you see Walmart hiring drivers, Amazon hiring drivers. They don't have enough shippers and trucker drivers. That was supply chain disruption number one. Supply chain disruption number two wasn't even Shanghai or China. It was, that guy, Vladimir Putin. As soon as he invaded Ukraine, guess what happened? He caused a supply chain disruption number two. And now tonight we have supply chain disruption number three. Takeaway from this is Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, and all those Federal Reserve governors absolutely know they have no tools to battle this supply chain disruption. They don't, and they know they don't. So what are they going to do? They're going to act like they do have the tools. This is called talking down inflation. Talking down inflation is when you say, I have the ability to bring down inflation by raising interest rates. He's going to do 2 meetings, and you're going to see inflation still at 7+%. That's my prediction tonight. And then people are going to suddenly say, see, it didn't work. Ironically, I've been making this recording that it's not going to work for about a month. Now, almost every single day, another Wall Street analyst says Jay Powell won't be able to get those inflation rates down. So this is good for your benefits if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits. Because if Joe Biden makes that swap from coal to inflation right tonight, you'd lock in another $200 more per month. How does this work? Let's go over the analysis. Your benefits, whether you're on Social Security or veterans benefits, have a benchmark. That benchmark is looked at every year. It may be different every December. Let's say it's 5%. Like it was for COLA last December. Then they say your benefits will go up 5%, not just next January, not just 2022, but lifetime. That's how a benchmark works, and that's how your benefits work. Once they go up, they never go down. Now, you may have been happy to get a raise of your benefits this year, but guess what? You haven't gotten a raise for many years. Why? Because COLA doesn't work. It's a bad benchmark. They want to replace it with inflation. Why? Inflation always has a good number, 4%, 3%. Right now, 8%. And so if Joe Biden made that swap from COLA to inflation right tonight, you'd lock in another $200 more per month because that is the value of about an 8% inflationary rate. That's not just this month. That's not just this year. It's a lifetime. Then what about in December? By December, the inflation rate, where will it land? Again, let's go back to what the talk is, but what the walk really is. I like that. I just came up with that. What is the talk? The talk is from the Federal Reserve that we're getting down inflation rates to 1.9% by December. My walk is, let me go trip you. Let me go trip you because that is ridiculous. You're not getting down inflation to 1.9% later this year. It's just like, excuse me? This is like you want me to believe the Loch Ness monster knows how to breakdance? It's just where you're coming up with this crazy stuff. I think Boulard, that's why Boulard always talks with sort of emphatic way of talking, because he wants people to really believe him, just like Jay Powell. It's just, no, I'm not buying it. You went to acting school for that. So let's go over what's going on. They're not going to get inflation down to 1.9% later this year. They're going to get down to 4%. Somewhere around that, 3.39, 4.2, and that's another $100 for your benefits later this year. So Joe, make that swap from COLA to inflation right now. You'd lock in more money across the board. Now, as we're talking about Joe, let's talk about something about making calls. Joe Biden made that call in October 2021 to the Department of Agriculture. And what did he say to them? He said, you're not paying people enough money for SNAP. Give them more money for SNAP. That's just not enough money in this economy. He called them up and said, change it out. Give them more money for SNAP. He knows how to make a call and get things done. It does not require an act of Congress. So all he has to do on this front is pick up the phone and call the Social Security Administrator head, say, swap out COLA for inflation. Tonight, you're going to see a really good trend of the White House picking up the phone and calling and saying, do this, do that, do this. In the last 7 days, the president has done, I'm trying to keep track of it. I think it's almost 6 executive orders, maybe more. I mean, he's done a lot. And we're going to go over some of them starting right now. Why is he doing this? For 2 reasons. First, the midterm elections just around the corner. You got that one. That's sort of easy. When everyone's job is up for grabs, they start doing things. I know that. We already know that part of the equation. Second, is that I think he does think that there may still be problems with getting things passed by the Senate. So he's trying to do things he can do very quick and easy. What has he done for you? A lot of stuff. First, two stimulus checks. Actually, 3. 3 stimulus checks have just now become law. These are brand new, folks, and they're coming up later in this video. 3 major stimulus checks have now become law, and he did this himself. Did not need Congress. Then, what else did Joe Biden do? He did 1, 2, 3, 4 executive orders for student loan debt forgiveness. I think it may be 5. And I'm going to go over each of them, starting with the major one tonight, as millions of Americans who are student loan debt borrowers are going to get their debts forgiven. Wow. 2 nights ago, I did a live broadcast where I had people ask me questions. And guess what was the number one question I got from viewers during that live chat? It was about student loan debt forgiveness. Question after question after question. Let's go over what the President of the United States has done with student loan debt, starting with back about 2 months ago. He initially forgave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation or went to work in the nonprofit or public sector. That was first. Then, about 7 days ago, he did an executive order that said, I'm going to extend the moratorium on repaying your student loan debts from May 2022 to September 2022. Next up was another executive order from Joe Biden. And that one was that if your debts are currently in default, I'm going to make them good. I'm going to put you in good standing. We weren't done there yet. Then the President of the United States said that if your debts were still around or growing because of fraud committed against you by your university, the lender, I'm going to forgive the debts and wipe them away. Wow, that one came out of nowhere. And it looked like that was the biggest one because that was the one that Elizabeth Warren talked about for over 6 months with YouTube videos and everything else. And then from that, we weren't done yet because guess what? I told you we weren't going to be done. I told you that another student loan debt forgiveness was about to be announced. And what was that one? That one came in the last few minutes. Your Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, made the latest announcement, and it's a little bit confusing. I'll admit that I'm not a lender, so I don't do this type of stuff. But people have been asking a lot of questions about this. So the latest one is the following. It's for individuals who are carrying debts that require them to pay for over 20 to 25 years. The U.S. Department of Education is redefining how the debt is quantified so that it can actually be wiped away. It'll provide a one-time adjustment to borrowers to provide a credit towards loan forgiveness under income-driven repayment plans for any month in which the borrower made a payment. What are the numbers you should write down? What are the names you should write down to look this up yourself? The IDR credit, like institution debt repayment or something. I just made that up. IDR. We have an ongoing rulemaking that will take a look at what type of statutes should qualify for IDR credit. And there may be potential for us to improve these rules as going forward. That comment was from James Cavall, the undersecretary to Miguel Cardona minutes ago. This will allow immediate debt cancellation. That's another way to say your debts are forgiven. For 440,000 borrowers on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Write that one down as well. Public Service Loan Program. And several thousands other borrowers under the income-based repayment programs. Another 3.6 million student loan borrowers will get at least 3 years of retroactive tax credits, retroactive credits towards loan forgiveness under the income-driven repayment plan. It's a lot there, isn't it? That's a lot to digest. And I don't expect you to digest that all in a 1 hour broadcast. But here's what I want you to know is take this recording, replay the section if you want that information, and go immediately tonight to the Department of Education's website to follow it and watch it, because this is a very fluid situation. Every single day we've had another executive order forgiving more student loan debt. I'm trying to keep up on all of them, and I think so far I've done a good job, but I want you to stay up on top of it. And congratulations to one of the longtime viewers. His name is Chef John Meyer. He got $9,000 of his student loan debt forgiven. Congratulations for him across the board. Now, what is really getting interesting across the board is that states have extra money available from third stimulus. Surprise? It's not a surprise. You and I know that. You and I know that there's a lot of extra money sitting around for third stimulus. And guess what? Now that states have extra money sitting around for third stimulus, they're considering sending out a stimulus check. And we're not talking about $200. Oh, no, 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 no. One major East Coast state is now proposing a $2,000 stimulus check to go out to you. That's in addition to everything else covered in this video. And I got to tell you, if that state has the money sitting around from third stimulus, it's likely that other states have the same amount of money available sitting around as well. We'll go over that breaking news on that front after the commercial break. Then we'll be going over those big checks, 1, 2, and 3, that are now brand new, and Joe Biden has made them law. Direct deposit landing. Great news across the board. We'll go over everything you need to know about those checks. But tonight, there's a really big shocker, and no one in this recording, no one in my mindset, and certainly not you, would have ever expected me to make this statement. Early when the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine occurred, I told you we need more gasoline. And I did a lot of videos explaining where we can get the gasoline from. Venezuela. Then I talked about the OPEC countries and then the OPEC plus countries. At the time of making those recordings about OPEC plus in March, when Vladimir Putin had just started his invasion, I told you there was a press conference after a meeting of the OPEC plus countries, and they refused to answer questions with press. I said, that doesn't look good. I said, it doesn't look good. Then I said that they had the opportunity to increase production for gasoline at that OPEC plus meeting. Remember the importance of increasing production. What it would mean for you? It would bring down the price of gasoline. They chose not to. Tonight we have a real shocker, and I'm shocked to even report this. But here's the report that came out today. A new report today says that in the supply chain, OPEC and OPEC Plus produced 1.45 million barrels per day less than its projected target for the month of March as Russia began to invade Ukraine. Excuse me? Let's let that digest for a second. Excuse me, say that again? Yeah. So back in March, when I was telling you about the importance of getting more gasoline released, we were looking around. Boy, let's understand how this works. When there's less gasoline, the price goes up. When there's less wheat being harvested, the price of wheat goes up. It's very simple. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to get more gasoline released. Where we're trying to look for it. We're looking at Venezuela, we're looking at Iraq, we're looking at Iran, and we're looking at OPEC Plus. And at the time, I told you that they agreed not to increase production. Tonight, for April 20th, 2022, on E! News LA, America's most watched show for financial news in America, I got the breaking news for you folks. They didn't increase production. They didn't keep production the same. They cut production. They did not meet their benchmark, or whatever verb tense you want to use. They produced OPEC Plus 1.45 million barrels less per day. They produced 1.5 million barrels below its target production for the month of March as we need more oil. Let's do the math, folks. Russian oil counts for 3 million barrels per day internationally. Remove from the equation, out of the supply chain, embargo, whatever expression you want to use, starting in March, when countries started saying we're not going to buy that Russian oil. So 3 million barrels of gasoline gone because of it's the Russian oil gone. We thought we were just halfway there. Why? The White House announced 2 weeks ago that it was going to releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline per day, every day, for 6 months from the U.S. Strategic Reserves. That's like a storage room of gasoline in the United States. I said it wasn't going to work. It's not enough gasoline. Then we had the Western allies. They announced to release some of their gasoline. It equates to about 500,000 barrels a day. Okay, so 1 million from the United States, 500,000 from the Western allies. That's 1.5. We're missing 3. We're halfway there. Russia's 3 million barrels, but we only have 1.5 to replace it with. And we thought we were at halfway there. Tonight we learned we weren't halfway there because OPEC Plus missed its production target by 1.5 million barrels at the same time. Yeah. So 3 million missing, then another 1.5 million missing, so 4.5 million missing, and replacing with 1.5. We're still 3 million barrels of gasoline missing per day internationally right tonight for April 20th. What does this mean? It means the price of gasoline ain't coming down. Does any one of the Western allies have a solution lined up? They don't. I mean, they did have an option with the JCPOA. That is the allegiance of a U.S.-Iranian negotiated agreement, which didn't get to the finish line. It's got to the edge and just sort of stalled up. We don't know why. Negotiated by Germany and France on behalf of the United States of Vienna, Austria, with Iran, and then suddenly it just stalled up because Iran does have enough oil. To deal with a 4 million barrel deficit we got to deal with. Venezuela does as well. But tonight, no deal with the JCPOA. Still a deficit. And tonight, the price of Brent crude, the international price of Brent crude, out of control. 108 a barrel. This means that the price of gasoline at the pump is not going down for you folks. It ain't going down. And I told you back on day one of the invasion of Ukraine, if it stays at its current price level, $4 a gallon U.S. national average AAA unleaded, we go in recession. If this price of gasoline is still the same price as it was in day one of the invasion, if it's still there by May. Well, we're not done there yet because the price of wheat and corn is out of control as well. If you remember this channel, which I hope you are, you get the membership newsletter, and that price is out of control as well. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over more about these details and those big checks. It is exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4 new stimulus checks are landing depending on where you are and how you are. We're going to go over all these incredible checks. And we're just getting started because if Build Back Better Act goes for a vote later this month, there's more checks behind there. And then that SS300, that is a massive lift of the money. We'll go over the analysis of that. And then finally, the big checks of 6 stimulus. We got a lot coming up in the second half of this video. If it's a lot to digest, if it's a lot to follow over this 1-hour broadcast that's just getting started, no worries. Just sit back and enjoy it and read along with the newsletter. Become a member today. The membership link is at the top of the channel, the pinned comment. Become a member of the #1 most watched financial news show in America in prime time, LALATE. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP member. The link's at the top of the channel, the pinned comment. Then, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Delivered via the YouTube alert system. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you get all alerts set to all. Hit that bell at the front of the channel. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over all these incredible checks and the other checks that would be coming right behind them. It's a big night. For April 20th, 2022, we're just getting started. The second half has those big checks. We'll go over all that incredible sums of money. But first, if you have a question, here's a little bit more available from the members community page. See you back in 60 seconds. As a big evening of Evenings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues on a big evening's LA for April 20th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. A lot of details happening tonight and lots of checks. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over these incredible big checks that have landed. Viewers have gotten it, direct deposit, big sums, lots of zeros behind that check, and it is huge, including an MSC check. We'll be going over all those incredible checks coming up right now. But first, if you haven't become a member, make sure you do. Go to the top of the chat or under the pinned comment or the description and sign up right now. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The membership newsletter is delivered to you Monday through Friday. In the next few minutes, we're going to go over all these incredible checks and maybe a lot for you to digest. You don't have to worry about it because it's all featured in the membership newsletter. Follow along with the membership newsletter when you watch this channel. So you look at each of these checks, look at all the guidance, and you know how to get every item at issue. All right, let's go over the situation tonight across the board, starting with the big checks hitting tonight. The President of the United States understood that Congress was not getting things done, and we understood that the midterm elections are just around the corner. So the President of the United States started taking things out of Build Back Better Act and making them law. He can do it because he can do it by executive action. The President of the United States has the ability to make things law by executive action. Doesn't need an act of Congress. And what has he done? Well, in the case of student loan debt forgiveness, this, no less than 6 executive orders in just 7 days. And in the case of stimulus checks, the same thing. He took 2 stimulus checks to start out of Build Back Better Act and made them law. You can get it. You either rent or you own. And if you make $75,000 or less, or married couple $150,000 less, you can get it. Are you ready? I'm so excited for you. And they're landing by direct deposit. Let's go over these checks across the board starting right now. These are brand new checks tonight, folks, and it's a $6,500 check that became law on March 31st, and it is huge. A $15,000 to $80,000 stimulus check March 4th, and an MSC check that in some cases over $150,000, but on the low end is $2,000 a month for 12 months. Let's look at that check number 1 starting right now. The President of the United States took a check out of the Build Back Better Act, second cluster, and made it law, and it has a lot of money in there. $6,500 generally, but in some states upwards of $12,000. Yes, this is a forced stimulus check. Yes, it's law, done by executive action. President took it out of Build Back Better Act. Who can get it? Let's go over the income qualification. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or Railroad benefits or Veterans benefits, you can get it. The last qualification is that you own your own home. So what is this big check? This is a check called the Home Weatherizing Grant Check. When I say grant, it means it's free money. It's not a loan, there's no credit check, and you don't have to repay the money. All you have to do is follow along with what's covered in this video, and I show you how to get this big check. What do you do first to get this check A? Step 1 is you go to the top of this chat and become a member, or under the description of this video. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Then, get that incredible newsletter delivered to you Monday through Friday via the YouTube alert system. Open it up. Do not wait, because these checks are first come, first serve. Open that membership newsletter delivered to you at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, Monday through Friday. Then go into that newsletter, and right under the first few lines, it says the $6,500 Home Weatherizing Grant Check. It goes over more about the eligibility, and then it goes over how to apply. To apply, it's so simple. All you do is you go under the link in the newsletter, and the link sends you right into the website. It's a federal website, and you choose your respective state, like Mississippi. And you choose Mississippi, then the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check, Mississippi, and you pounce. And it's that simple. This is the Weatherizing Grant Check. It's great. It's big money, and you deserve it, don't you? All right, let's go to Check B. Check B is even more. Let's be very frank here, folks. A $15,000 to $80,000 stimulus check, I haven't had one like that in a while. So this is a lot of money. And viewers are tracking at about $66,000 to $80,000. That's what they're getting. This is a lot of money. You know, let's look at the previous stimulus packages. We haven't anything this big in a while. That's why it's so exciting. It's a forced stimulus check. It was in Build Back Better Act. The president took it out. It's law, same way as Check A, done by executive action. And how do you get this? Same way as the prior one, but a different website. So let's go over this check. It is $15,000 to $80,000. It's tracking at about $66,000 to $80,000 with viewers of this channel. It is a 4 stimulus check. It is called the Homeowner's Grant Check, but it has a longer name than that. And what do you do? First, the income qualifications, same as Check A. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Married couple, $150,000 less. What do? You open the newsletter, of course. You look at Check A, then right under Check A is Check B, the $15,000 to $80,000 check. It's sent, you click the link, and sends you into a website with a map of the United States. You click your state on that map and then sends you into the state application. Once you get that application in, they'll say either approved or rejected. If you're approved, you get funding within 7 days. It's that simple. Again, you want to become a member to get that incredible information. The last check is really a fascinating story. This channel approaches its 2-year anniversary on April 25th, 2022, but one of the things that was very fascinating was in December of 2020, thick of the pandemic where there's no money out there. I said, I need to get you money. It's December. Nancy and Steve Mnuchin still had no deal. And I looked high and low and I found money for rent and utilities and mortgage assistance. I got people big money, like Tyrone and his family of 4 out of Boston getting $15,000 in December 2020. I mean, folks, there was no money around that. There was literally no money around. So it was a big achievement for people to get the money. They listened to the recordings and they pounced. They got the money. But I got lucky. I got lucky with something. You got lucky with something as well. What was it? In late December 2020, I had a document, almost an exclusive copy of this document, of what was set to be proposed for what would eventually become the American Rescue Plan. Yes, I called it a 3rd stimulus. I coined the expression, much like I've coined the expression for 4th stimulus, 5th, 6th, and 7th. I said, if this becomes law, folks, there's a lot more money in there for rent and utilities. So you know what? I'm going to train you really well in December 2020, because if this thing becomes law in 2021, 3rd stimulus, there's going to be a fortune for you to get. And they got it. You got it. Viewers of this channel got absolute fortunes. They're still getting it to this day. They're everywhere. If you're in the live chat right now, post your success stories, because when you do, you inspire other people. Let's look at the money for rent that people got. Anywhere from Nisi, who's in live chat every night, all the way up to Elizabeth, $27,000. Mark at $25,000. Then when we look at utilities, Mark's brother-in-law got $15,000 for utilities. So let's look at the Snap. Wow. Let's look at the combos. Huge. Then even bigger numbers. Mark was at $32,000. Then he went to $50,000. Then he went to $100,000. Now he's over $166,000. As we looked at other people like Lorraine, she was at $105,000. Then she went to $120,000. So what happened? Suddenly, viewers morphed this into an MSC. It's the power of the purple. You did it, not me. I was telling viewers in early January, get another round of this money. Viewers had gotten this money last spring when in 2020 became law. Then last summer, they got it again when I said to get it. Last Christmas, I said, go get a Christmas stimulus. Go get some Christmas stimulus, Santa stimulus. And they got it. They got 3 to 4 months of these items each time. And then in January this year, I said, go get another round, 3 to 4 months. And they said, no, I'll get a whole year. A whole year? Can you do that? Can you get a whole year? They proved it that you can. The viewers sort of tired by getting 3 to 4 month increments, went and got a whole year. In some cases, many viewers got 3 years. And it's absolutely incredible. Viewers created the MSC of 3rd stimulus. And that MSC is astronomical. Let's be very clear. I didn't create this part of the equation. They did. You did it. And that is the power of the purple. You can do it as well. They took the information, they ran with it, and made it bigger and bolder. And what are they getting? Well, they averaged about $45,000 from this early last year, and then they got another round this time, but $2,000 a month for an entire year. They're averaging $24,000. Compared to Build Back Better Act, this is a lot more money. So how do you get these monies? You want to reach out to the 6 PAs featured on Afternoons LALATE, the city, county, state. And then also, if you're a member, you want to reach out to the nonprofits. Because guess what? If you're a member, you're not calling 2 places. You're not calling 6 places. You're calling upwards of 15 places, because every place you call has more money. That is why you want to get as many calls in. And all you got to do is call. That's why Check C is so easy. It just involves an old rotary telephone and your voice. That's all you got to do. Check A. now law. Check B, now law. Check C, now law. How do you get these incredible checks? How do you learn more about these checks? How do you make it easier on yourself to get these big checks and have better opportunities to get more of these checks? You become a member. Go to the top of the chat, pin comment, become a member tonight. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. As we go into a big night tonight, what's happening with sixth stimulus? And does it overlap into fourth and third? What's important to understand is that when we have a numbering system on this channel, it's just to separate out the items. It's not to say they go in chronological order. So is it very possible that sixth stimulus could be merged into fourth stimulus, Build Back Better Act? Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about third stimulus being merged into sixth stimulus? Sound crazy? It's happening right tonight. In the state of Pennsylvania, the governor is considering allocating a whopping $2 billion of extra funds sitting around from the American Rescue Plan Act. As you remember, third stimulus was called the American Rescue Plan. States got money, lots of it, and the state of Pennsylvania has $2 million extra sitting around for all its residents. So it's now considering that it will use that money to send you a $2,000 stimulus check. Wow. Why is Pennsylvania an important story? Because Pennsylvania is probably very likely the same as another state's situation. How do I know this? We made this recording before. In December 2020, remember the Steve Mnuchin, Nancy Pelosi argument about states have no money? Remember that? I made a lot of videos outside. Steve Mnuchin said the states had still had a lot of money left from first and second stimulus. Nancy said they weren't. And I said, return the money to the federal government and send out a stimulus check. Or I said, repurpose the money at the state level and send out a stimulus check at the state level. Well, tonight, exactly what happened with first is happening tonight with third. There's new indications that there may be a lot of money from third stimulus that's given to the states under the third stimulus package that they still not used. And there's a rule, because under the American Rescue Plan, they must use that money by December 31st, 2024, or the federal government takes the money back. We've not had an accounting from our Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, on how much money these states have. But if it's anything like what happened with Steve Mnuchin in 2020, it's probably a lot of money. It's probably a lot of money. And now Pennsylvania understands that it cannot just sort of toss the money back in December. It's now putting this up as a potential one-time payment of $2,000. This is likely to happen in other states across the board. Obviously, I don't cover state stimulus here, so I can't cover every state, but I've done this before where suddenly states say, I got a lot of money left over. I got to spend it. I'm not buying new lawn for the state capitol. I'm not buying a new Crayola exhibit. We got one last year. I'm not buying lobster shorts. That's for Kentucky. We'll spend the money on the citizens, and that is what's happening across the board. Now, when we look at sixth stimulus and the President of the United States, what's happening with that front? Now, remember, sixth stimulus is to battle recession. Are we in recession? We are, in my opinion, at least the two industries. Home starts or housing is in a recession right now. Housing starts down 5 consecutive months. Mortgage is out of control. Mortgage rate out of control. Supply chain disruption causing bad problems to repair the home and build the home. To sell the home is becoming problematic. Auto sales down dramatically. Supply chain disruption there as well. Consumer sentiment demand. It's not looking good. In my opinion, those two industries are in recession. The rest of the U.S. economy will be in recession by the end of this year and be there for 2 years. Now, this recession will be unlike any prior recession you may have read about or experienced. Why? Because normally in a recession, you do not have inflation. Normally, it's the reverse. GDP shrinks, the gross national product, the growth of the U.S. economy goes to contraction. I mean, we're not growing, we're shrinking. And then suddenly inflation goes the reverse. The prices drop dramatically and there's no demand for the goods. We have demand for the goods at the moment, and we also have inflation. So this is going to be a very different type of tight walk. A lot of people are trying to call it what it is, but I got to tell you, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. What you're going to see is that the impact on this economy by these interest rates is going to hit. The mortgage rates, which is caused by Jay Powell raising interest rates at those FOMC meetings, is going to hurt the housing industry. It's also going to hurt the auto industry. A lot of people lease cars, and the lease payment or the loan payment on the car is going to be hit dramatically. I should say loan payment. Then people who are borrowers of credit card debt, it's going to hit them as well. And it's just going to start to grow. And then suddenly you have supply chain disruption. We could potentially have this Omicron subvariant really get very dominant in this United States in the next 30, 60 days, which could cause major supply chain disruption here. And that's why it is certainly likely that you could see stimulus packages sort of morph into one another. Is it very likely that the six stimulus package, the one we talk about, the trifecta of Germany, France, the United States, merge into fourth stimulus, Build Back Better Act? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it very likely that Build Back Better Act could sort of piggyback on top of third stimulus? Absolutely. One of the things I haven't said in, it's a long time, I think it's over 8 months, is that Chuck Schumer won that major ruling last year with the Senate parliamentarian. Do you remember what the ruling was? If you're in the live chat, post the comment if you remember what the ruling was, the Senate parliamentarian. The ruling was that Chuck Schumer is allowed to go back and modify a prior recon and do it again with a modification if you want to send out more money. If you want to go do American Rescue Plan 2.0 and send out more money, you can, and it does not use up your extra recon. Yeah. So Chuck Schumer could do the third stimulus again and do another round of monies, and it would not use up the Build Back Better Act. In fact, he could do the two at the same time. He could literally do the two at the same time in the Senate. He doesn't need any Republican votes because of the recon. That's how things get very interesting when you want to move money very quickly. Across the board, there's a lot going on. And in a broadcast in a day, you need to stay on top. What's important to understand is that when money is available, you need to pounce. You cannot predict this economy, and you cannot predict where it's going. JB Diamond, head of JP Morgan Chase, yesterday said, this is getting very problematic. He did not want to use the word recession, but he says this is going to see stalling up economies of scale by Q3, Q4 later this year. And Q1 and Q2, which we're just getting out of, is predictable as it is. But when you start to see things contract, then things get very, very dicey. Where we see the contractions, we see it on housing, we see it auto, but where you can see the major contractions, you'll see it in corporate earnings. And when those start to come in, folks, get ready for the screams, because that is where we're not saying inflation. We're not saying stagflation. We're not talking about these other things. We're talking about the big R word, recession. And that's why I keep you ahead of the ball game. And that's why you become a member. You become a member and you stay a member. Because potentially by the end of tomorrow, there could be another stimulus check. By the end of tomorrow, there could be more debt that's forgiven for student loans. And you don't want to miss a single video. You don't want to miss a single newsletter, because it's first come, first serve for every check. Every check that goes out is first come, first serve, and you need to pounce and get every check. It's not a time or place that you are so financially independent in a changing economy that you can simply do nothing. What you need to do is pounce. As a true Purple Hawk is, you have the abilities, you have the knowledge, you have the initiative, you have the support, you have the community, you have the love. And you have evenings LALATE every night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LALATE for more.